All right, let's do it. Let's push some limits, baby.
All right, let's go, man. Well, Chris, we've known each other for quite some time. It's been a pleasure getting to know you. And we actually met through a mentor.
Yeah.
Which is something that we're going to talk about a little bit later. But just for the audience, if you could just introduce yourself and tell us about what you're doing today.
Yeah, Jake, thanks for having me, man. I'm so excited for the Pusching Limits podcast. I'm a tech sales guy at heart. I got into tech sales because I love people. I wanted to be great, whatever that means. And I dove in, and the rest is history. It's been 9 years. Met a lot of great people like you, one of my best friends, mentors like Tom, made some good money, and really grew a lot personally and professionally. So I'm actually from Florida. I'm a Florida man, and I know there's kind of a polarizing perception of Florida. You know, that website, Florida Man does this crazy thing. And yes, I am a little bit crazy, but I love home. You know, we clap for the sun setting in the ocean in the Gulf of Mexico. I don't think that's quite as bad as clapping when the plane lands, but what do you think? What's worse?
I don't know. I'd say, do you remember when COVID was going on and the Grim Reaper was like walking along the beach? Do you remember that?
In Florida?
In Florida.
Dude, I guess that's kind of why I left. It's one of the reasons why I left, right? We don't have Grim Reapers walking around in Austin, Texas. But really, just to finish up the story, I left Florida because it's a beautiful bubble, but you know, it's kind of a sheltered bubble. And I wanted to grow up. I wanted to see the world, expand my horizon. So I ended up going to Georgetown University in DC, studying abroad in Madrid, Spain. And just, you can imagine a school like that, being in DC, you grow a lot. And you get exposed to different ways of being and thinking. And, you know, then I went to Boston, which was a whole different world. You know, I feel like it was a love-hate relationship. You know, I got kicked out of bars for the first time. Honestly, I had someone key my car. People can be tough. Oh, wow. But also I met incredibly smart people. You've got Harvard, you've got Tufts and some great universities. And I started at Oracle, and that's where I cut my teeth in sales, and I grew a lot from there. So from there, I bounced to Austin, Texas, where millennials are married. I know we love this place. It's an amazing city with open-minded, creative people. Yeah. And I started Google. The Googs was my dream. I remember I wrote down on a piece of paper why I wanted to be at Google, why I wanted to go to Austin. I visualized myself in the office, closing deals, and I made that happen. And just to finish up the story to where we are today, I did get a promotion at 26 into field sales at Google. It took me to LA. The pandemic happened, and I went out to the airport in LA. I forget what it's called. And there were crickets in the airport. No one was around. And that was really hard for an extrovert. Like, I literally feed off of, you know, connecting with people. Yeah. And that's how I get my energy. I got kind of depressed and learned a lot through that experience and thought, what do I actually want to do with my life going forward? And I love Google so much. It was great, but it was time to go to a startup. And now I'm at a startup called Bespin Global, second founding US-based seller. Growing with that company, I've learned a lot. So back in Austin, and I realized I will never sacrifice community for a glitzy, glamorous job. And I never wanted to leave Austin, but I'm still glad I went to LA to reinforce that this is the place where I want to be.
Wow. Yeah, that's so cool for me to hear, because I spent 7 years in Austin and then moved out to LA and only survived a year. And I was like, I was like a boomerang. I came right back.
Yeah, man. So tell me a little bit about your journey to LA. Didn't you pursue acting?
Yeah. We talked about this on your podcast a little bit. But yeah, I moved out there for a year, pursued acting, and it just ultimately was not for me. The culture, the people, it was nothing like Austin, Texas. It wasn't like warm and welcoming, and like, you know, people were not striking up conversations at coffee shops. It was very not for me.
Yeah, and imagine going out there in a pandemic.
Yeah.
So number one, it's just different, and people, I don't know. I don't want to talk about it, just like you don't bash the competition in sales, right? But and maybe they're the competition because a lot of people are coming from LA to Austin. We're recruiting heavy.
Yes.
But imagine throwing the pandemic and everyone's locked in. And I will say, like, for good reason, people were afraid because people were dying, and it's a horrible thing. But I noticed that going back home to Florida and back to Austin, there was, of course, there's a reason to be afraid, but still a little more openness. And it was, just a little bit of I think they handled it a little better, but we don't have to open up a can of worms there.
We're going down the COVID rabbit hole. Yeah. But no, it's really interesting, really inspiring. And, you know, some of the things that you're doing, you're sharing best practices, and you're so enthusiastic and passionate about it. and you and I both go to the same gym. We cold plunge together, we work out together, and you're always talking about ways in which you could share best practices for your community, your followers on YouTube, and all the other people that we know around town as well. But just really curious, why would you recommend someone to get into tech sales?
Yeah, I'll tell you, I got into tech sales because I love people and I wanted to be great. I mentioned that before, right? If you do love people, you get paid to build meaningful relationships with teammates that might become your best friends, find mentors like managers that, for example, at Google, my manager is the reason that I started a YouTube channel. These managers and leaders help you grow, and you meet amazing customers. There's a CTO that I work with locally here that has like 14 cars, and I rid in the back of his Aston Martin.
So many cars.
It's a lot. He took a company from 500 employees to 1,500. So I'm riding in the back of his Aston Martin, wind hitting my face, golfing with him, dinners, and I'm flexing a little bit, right? That's a cool experience. But once you grow on this path, you get to experience so much freedom to do fun things and meet amazing people like him. And imagine, like, we have an authentic relationship and I have access to his network now. And he's even shared some of my YouTube videos, which is really cool. But so if you love people and you want to build a truly strategic network, which we both know a network is such an asset, especially in a downturn where people are fearful that they might lose their job, and it's a valid fear. If you have a great network, you can really reduce the risk and the time in which, if you do, in the worst case, get laid off, you're actually unemployed, and you can get back on your feet fast and maybe even get a better opportunity. So I think the other thing is, if you want to be great, tech sales is a vehicle for personal transformation. And that might sound grandiose, but it is an opportunity to get in the arena and apply mindset and high performance habits that produce great results in all areas of life. And through applying it on the court in sales, you grow into the best version of yourself. I've noticed on this tech sales path, I've brushed up against the edges of who I am, and I've seen my blind spots, like the things I didn't even know I didn't know that were holding me back. Candidly, I still struggle with this. I realize sometimes I talk too much and I interrupt people in customer conversations, but by being in sales, I was able to become more aware of that and work on that. Sometimes my ego can get in the way of really empathizing and connecting with people, and sales made me more aware of that. Sometimes I could be a little disorganized. Well, sales demanded I became more organized. So basically, if you're going to succeed in sales, it demands that you get uncomfortable, you cold call strangers, you step outside of your comfort zone and develop these qualities that actually will make you more successful in every aspect of your life. For example, we all want to find love. And I'm single and 30 right now, so maybe I'm not to take it with a grain of salt. Yeah. But imagine we want to talk to an attractive stranger. Sales actually gives you more confidence to do that, and maybe through that confidence, you can show up more authentically. And also, sales, if you're practicing it with integrity, teaches curiosity. So maybe you'll show up more curious and ask better questions and be able to connect on a deeper level. So that's just one example. So if you love people, you want to be the best you can be. And I mean, here's one other thing. You're going to make a lot of money. It's one of the fastest past the 6 figures. After my first year as an SDR at Oracle, I got promoted to AE. And I didn't have that great a base as an SDR. It's nothing crazy. It's 45K. Made about 75K hitting my number. But the next year, I hit 6 figures halfway through the year, taking 2-hour lunch breaks. Or I hit my number halfway through the year and made a healthy 6 figures. And that was at like 23 or 24. And I didn't know what to do with myself. I was buying my whole team coffee.
That's a lot of money.
And no, it was stupid because I actually every Friday would buy my whole team of 10 coffee. And then after 9 years, I actually tripled my base salary, but that's not factoring in commission, reserve stock units, equity that I got from Google, and now pre-IPO equity at my current startup that I negotiated, that if we go public, which we're trying to do in the next couple of years, so it is a long game play, it literally quadruples in value. It's a transformational wealth event. And that's one of the, I think, the best kept wealth building secrets of tech sales. So gosh, if you want to make money and you want to use that as a tool to create freedom in your life and make a difference for people, along with the skill set and the thinking and the connections, you can tell I'm getting pumped up. That's why I love this path. And I would say this final thing, okay, and the TED Talk's over for at least this part. We'll do another one. Yeah. Is that it's not a best writing author. It's a best-selling author. Imagine you write the most incredible book, but no one opens up the cover. And in a way, you're robbing the world and yourself from the impact and success that it could have. and we talked about how it could impact your dating life and other areas. And I think that we do ourselves, our dreams, and the world a disservice if we don't invest in our sales skills.
Wow. Yeah.
Let's go.
No, wow. Yeah. I mean, you pumped me up.
Yeah.
You pumped me
Come
up.
on, let's sell.
Yeah. Let's go. Let's hit the phone.
And hey, aren't we all selling ideas? What if you want to raise money for charity? Like,
yeah,
there's a way to frame it, as an opportunity in people's world. So I could go on and on.
Yeah.
I'm selling you on sales.
Yeah, you are. Yeah. I'm sold. But no, I heard a few things there that really stuck out to me. One of which sales really impacts other areas of your life. You mentioned the dating and just like, relationships with other people and things like that. And then you mentioned networking, and you told a story about being in Aston Martin, and it was because you delivered like value, right, to that client, but now you have a personal relationship. And
it's so powerful when you develop a personal long-term relationship that goes beyond transactions.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a key to success too, is when you show an executive or anyone that you're transactional, you're just in it for you and you want that quick fix and that revenue, which you do want. It can feel like a drug hit, kind of. It's hilarious, but you close a deal. But if you can be patient and sometimes strategically give the customer space to come back and really empathize with why they're moving slowly, and eventually, you sign contracts, close deals, but you show that you value long-term relationships and can take the sales hat off, like that is so powerful. And so the CTO, like wherever I go, whatever company, he will probably, buy from me wherever I go. And he also can refer me to other clients. And I think that concept can apply to anything. Like you're starting your own business, it's a coaching business, it's a YouTube channel, and like you bring value and you share it with someone and they'll like be your evangelist and share with other people. You get the point. So
yeah. No, I thought that was super, super cool, super good point, right? And you're doing it for the right reasons. It's not a transaction. It's a lifelong partnership and relationship, and that's really what sets sellers like enterprise sellers apart from the transactional like salespeople that are out there. It's like building that relationship. Exactly.
And it's not a coincidence the enterprise sellers can make as high as $1 million a year. I haven't done that, right?
Yeah.
Maybe deep six figures is very achievable in enterprise, but it's those who are being the trusted advisor that really operate at a higher level and are doing these transformational deals that are life-changing. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. And going a little off script here, because I want to double down on this. At what point in your career, because you said you were making pretty good money when you were 23, 24, buying coffee for everyone, not knowing what to do with the money you're pulling in.
I didn't foresee six figures. I'm not saying I was making like deep six figures, but even just start to make a little over 100K I didn't expect that,
Yeah.
And so it was like, what do I do with myself?
Yeah. But at what point though, were you just asking yourself like, wow, I feel like I've made it, and what do I do with myself?
What's so funny is you never arrive, never make it. And one of our other mentors, Dean Zurilla, said this, like he's founded 3 companies and he started out in tech sales at NetSuite, and he used sales to be successful and grow these companies. And I think exit in a handful of cases. He said that you never master sales. So if he's saying it, I totally feel that way too. And I still have a lot to learn. I could close bigger deals. I could build more relationships, and I still struggle with certain things, like I have tendencies. Sometimes I'll interrupt a customer. It's like, fortunately I have good people in my corner, like solution architects, to give me that feedback. So I know I still have a lot to learn. There's a guy, Jamal Raymer, who I interviewed on the channel, author of Mega Deal Secrets, and he closed multiple $50 million deals. And now he has that book, Mega Deal Secrets. So it's like, I haven't reached that level. So there's always more to do. But I will say, recently, like I still, I'm very invested in my current company. That's my number one priority far and away, is to IPO and go public with this company. And we can't predict the future, but there's a good chance we're in a good position and evolve in the leadership at this company. But I do really want to align my dollars with impact and passion. And that real passion is around helping people start their career in tech sales and start to increase their earning potential, a sense of personal freedom, and ability to make an impact in their life in the areas that matter. I'm really passionate about giving more people access to this sales path to just create a life that moves and inspires them, where they're on their deathbed and they have no regrets. Yeah. And they're watching, I can't help it, I'm doing this metaphor, they're watching their memories like reruns of the best movie they ever saw. I made that up. Wow. But so it's like, so I'm starting to shift there, and I have it's a balance though, because the reality is what pays the bills, and I am still very set on my 9 to 5, but that's kind of where I'm starting to think, entrepreneurship. And I think that's a great path for people who start in sales. It's a vehicle to develop the CEO mindset and the skill set and connections and political and financial capital. I just hit the mic to build something great.
Well, you also just dropped the mic, baby. Let's keep
going.
Let's
go.
But
shake and bake, baby.
But we'll
remember, what do I do with my hands?
Yeah, Talladega Nights.
Oh,
hey, at the same time.
Dude, this is the best clip of the whole interview.
But hold on. So before we move on, so much gold here I want to dig into. You said that you're never done. And I believe that came from Dean, but that's something I really want to point out for the audience and for yourself to get your opinion on this. But like, even as a top performer, like they know, like, like Q1, you have an amazing Q1, you blow your number, but you're never done.
Yeah.
So you're always doing the dirty work. You're always making those prospecting calls. You're always setting a prospecting block to ensure that your Q2 is going to be repeatable, just like your Q1. So you're never done with the dirty work. You never ultimately retire from that AE mentality, right?
Yeah, and that's the beauty of life, is in sales, in your self-awareness, in your skill sets, you can always go deeper. And that's where joy and meaning are found, in that growth and awareness, consciousness, and so that journey never ends. And I love the opportunity to dive into deeper levels of connection with bros like you as we cultivate our bromance and impact, and we cultivate our bromance. That sounds so academic. That's the Georgetown in me. And also, quick side, random tangent, but my mom used to read vocabulary words at the dinner table every day. Like, oh, capacious, this cap is so spacious, which it's a word that means large, with like a picture book. Yeah. And it helped me do really well in the SAT. So I noticed sometimes I'll throw out like good vocabulary words that actually, another tangent, in sales, it's better to be more approachable and down to earth rather than too flashy or too articulate. Like, simple is better. So that's actually something I've had to work on too in terms of communication.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would agree. I mean, you got to keep it less buzzwords.
Yeah, for sure.
Less buzzwords.
We should sync up.
Like,
one-stop shop.
Circle back around.
What are some buzzwords that you use in sales, or that you have been guilty of?
Big data, big picture, high level.
Yeah.
You already said one-stop Shopify.
Yeah.
Let's get something on the calendar. But 30,000 foot view.
And here's, by the way, a big mistake people make. Executives hate this. And I know there was like an interview of an executive that I watched that said this, like, oh, I'd love to set up time to learn about your initiatives. And that's what we want at the end of the day. But it's like, oh, I just expect you to tell me everything. Mm-hmm. It's like you have to come with a perspective. We might be able to help in this way. Also, of course, we want to understand your world and what matters to you, because ultimately we're going to adapt to that.
Oh, man.
But you know what I'm saying? It's like,
yeah,
it's not a buzzword, but I think it's a mistake that I made a lot. It's lazy. It's like, oh, can we just set up some time to talk about your initiatives? Like, so you can help me sell to you.
Yeah, oh my gosh, we're going to make that a reel.
Yeah,
that's going to be a reel, and that's kind of like
that was real.
Yeah,
dad jokes.
Hey, there we go. Hey, we're getting
our energy's picked up, man.
Yeah, the coffee. Actually, I quit coffee for two days, so this is day number 3 for me. So it's kicking in pretty hard right now.
Love it.
Well, good. No, I feel like you covered a lot there. But just getting into some of the things that you're really passionate about. Why don't you tell us about your YouTube channel and what made you create that channel? And everything I've heard on that channel has been surrounding best practices to help people break into tech sales, because it's so hard, especially with the conditions in the market.
Yeah. I started a channel, actually, my first foray into YouTube, after having a glass of whiskey and watching an old Gary Vee video where he was doing wine videos that my friend sent me to encourage me, where it looked like crap. And then I saw a video of Gary Vee today and how good he was. And I'm like, okay, if Gary could transform like that, let's do it. I hit upload, and that channel was called Pursuit of Possibility. And the first line was like cheesy. It was poorly filmed. It's like, hi, Mom and Dad, it's Chris. Hi, Ryan. Like, I'm telling my friends, I'm starting a YouTube channel. Pursuit of Possibility was inspired by a personal growth seminar, a leadership seminar that was a 3-day retreat called Landmark. And they talked about the concept of inventing possibilities for yourself, for the future, for this world, and fighting for those and keeping them alive. It's different than a goal, which is set and fixed and rigid, because sometimes we set goals, but a possibility, there could be something even better for us. And so I still love that. But it was basically a super high level personal growth video channel. I was talking about the power of acknowledgement and like different concepts at like mental health. I was all over the place. And there was a turning point after a year or so in, and I did have that depression that I mentioned in the pandemic where I stopped posting for a while. And it was a blessing in disguise because it gave me the space to rethink things and realize people want to get jobs in tech sales, and that is actually where I have credibility in the real world. Rather than try and be Tony Robbins, let's focus on helping people start their career and use tech sales as a Trojan horse to talk about personal growth. And what I realized is tech sales was the catalyst and the vehicle to my transformation, again, to adopt the mindset. We could call that the right type of thinking, the high performance habits that are backed by neuroscience, which that sounds fancy, but it's everything we know, like working out, cold plunges, gratitude, there's many things. And to put it into practice and produce amazing results. Because you could have everything living up in your head, these personal growth concepts, but if you don't have a path to get on the court in the arena, I'm using all these different metaphors, court and arena, to apply it, then it just stays stuck in the head and you don't realize your potential. So that's why I hope that makes sense. Tech sales is a vehicle of personal transformation and developing skills and financial freedom to make an impact in the areas that matter most. And so I had this aha moment that let me focus on tech sales. And eventually I do want to balloon this into like an impact theory type channel, interviewing like the most famous thought leaders and authors and talking about everything like beating anxiety and reaching your potential, manifesting your dreams. But I'm focused on tech sales right now and helping people get started on this path, landing a job, get promoted within a year from SDR to AE, and then, use it as a path to entrepreneurship. So that's a little bit of the journey, and I could go on and on, as you can tell, but
yeah. Well, why don't you give us 2 tips for those people watching right now that do not have any sales experience that are looking to get into tech sales?
Yeah, and there's one other piece, by the way. I just wanted to say that maybe there's something in this insight for the audience, but I had to, in order to start my new YouTube channel, my name, Chris Bussing, I had to give up pursuit of possibility, and I was very attached emotionally to that. But in order to reach higher levels of success, we have to give up our past identity, who we know ourselves to be, and that attachment. And it opens up the space for unpredictable results. And it was the best thing I could have done. But it's painful because their identity wants to preserve and protect itself, even if it's dysfunctional and it's not as successful as we could be. And it doesn't know how will we maintain our success in the future. And so that's just a little thing that I found as a part of my journey was pivotal, was giving up my attachment to what I thought success looked like with pursuit of possibility to do something even better. It was the best decision. So, okay, I'm going to give you those 2 tips for people that have no experience.
Yeah.
Don't worry too much about your resume and your LinkedIn profile. Focus on your real world resume, which is getting out there, picking up the phone, sending emails, sending LinkedIn messages to hiring managers, VPs of sales, SDRs and AEs at the companies that you want to work at. That's your real world resume. Imagine you cold call a VP of sales, say, hey, Tim, this is Chris. I realize I'm completely interrupting your day, but I really want to work at your company. Do you have 20 seconds for me to tell you exactly why that is and 3 reasons why I think I'm a good fit? And, and the thing is 3 reasons, 2, 1, that's kind of framework. And if you show that courage and that your real world resume, that you can do the job, they're going to give you some time. They're salespeople.
Yeah.
And you don't even have to be perfect. You might botch it. Or not botch it, but be a little nervous. In fact, I was nervous to start this interview, but that's okay. Show up anyways. And by having that courage, holy cow, no one is doing that. No one has that guts. You show you can do the job and they will refer you to the recruiter and you jump up the resume list. You step outside of the traditional application process and they say, oh, you don't have cold calling experience. Well, the way you handle that objection is I cold called the VP and that's why I'm here.
Wow.
So that's one of my tips.
Yeah.
And I guess if you want to riff on that, we can. I mean, you asked for 2, so I can definitely give one maybe on interviewing, but networking is key, and the interviewing is really key too, of course.
Yeah. No, I was very curious about that. And back to your earlier point, be comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yes.
I think goes a long way. I mean,
come on, baby.
Even doing this interview I
felt a little nervous to start, and so because we're going live and it's what if I mess up? But showing up is success. Crushing the plan is success.
Yeah.
Surrender to the outcomes and know that beyond the bounds of our comfort zone is where living and transformation and unpredictable results take place. And the more we get out of our comfort zone, eventually it expands and expands, and the whole world is within it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this morning, I'm going to be doing a marathon next year.
Yeah.
And I just went to this running group in Austin, and I'd never gone before. I never went before, but I just showed up.
Dude.
And it was tough. It was like 6:30 in the morning on a Saturday morning. You know, I didn't think anyone was going to be there. There were 60 people there. And it was just like, just talking to these people, like, are you guys doing a marathon, half marathon? What's going on? That's one of the things I like about Austin. But it kind of aligns with, you know, kind of being uncomfortable and just showing up.
I commend you. You're one of the people that I know that I think of as someone who gets out of their comfort zone and has courage and is going to live a life where you don't have regrets, because you pursued acting in LA. You went for it and it didn't work out, but hey, you're building this thing and actually it might end up working out. Because I know people in tech sales that applied to AWS 17 times, right? And then they finally got the job and they're like, why did you apply 17 times? He's like, I want to work here and I'm ready. And he got the job. And so that's another tip, by the way, is be persistent and never give up. With enough persistence, the impossible becomes possible. And that's a quote from Vinod Khosla, the CEO of Sun Microsystems. He was speaking to graduate students at Stanford. And I saw it on a YouTube video, and it's so true. People take no too easily. So if you want to work at Google, which is like a freaking crazy dream, and I'm really grateful that worked out. And let's be real, luck played a part in it. Luck is when preparation meets opportunity and persistence meets opportunity. So like, never give up. And I think that's another kind of riff in here, but a tech sales tip in terms of getting in, because some people do get a job in 2 weeks, but that's like an anomaly. Other people get a job in 2 months and 2 weeks. It took 2 months and then 2 weeks for the actual interview process. Some people might get a job in 2 years and 2 weeks. And I've heard stories of that, but at the end of the day, they got the job and they're transforming the opportunities in front of them as a result. And the longer something takes, the more profound the joy we experience when we get to the other side.
Wow. And just so the audience knows, I'm going off script here with Chris.
Yeah, we're going off script.
And he's crushing it. He's crushing it.
Yeah, thanks, man. And again, just acknowledging you, like, you pursued acting. You've been doing stand-up comedy. I haven't done that. And I want to do a clip with you where we do some content, but you're getting up there. That's so uncomfortable. That actually terrifies me. And so I need to do it.
Yeah.
You're doing that. Like, I've just seen you, man. Like, you're at a startup as a sales director for North America, and that's not comfortable. So I commend you for being one of those people. And you're the type of person who elevates me. Like, I want to be around those types of people.
No, I appreciate that. And that's another big point, you know, all the big things you're doing, like we're both doing, and it requires being uncomfortable, like 100%. And and it's also the people that you associate yourself with. Like, you and I hang out. You know, you arrived here on time.
Well, I don't know about that, but I had to get the ice bath in.
Yeah, today, well, you have to.
Yeah, thanks. You were understanding, right?
But it was like it was so cool. Like, you walked in. This is a 1-bedroom apartment, and my studio's in here, and we were just riffing on ideas on like, and it was just so cool because like we both had the mindset of like, well, if we tried this, you know, it might help the audience understand this. Yes. And maybe we could do some like, you know, riffing on like discovery calls or like
some funny cold calls, say, to an audience for cold calls with bananas and
it was cool. It was so
scenarios.
Cool. Yeah, and what I like observed about like you just walking in here and like seeing the studio set up, you were so curious and asking questions about it, which is like which is another big thing.
Hey, that's the other piece of advice. We'll give 3 pieces, and this is for interviewing and networking to stand out in a sea of competition. It's all about them. Let's get off ourselves, suspend our ego. It's all about the person interviewing you. How do you create an amazing experience for them? I had a guy who interviewed me at Oracle, and he was a young manager, but he came away saying this was the greatest interview I ever had. Because I talked to Kate, who knew him, and I got the answers to the test. I understood exactly what made him tick. She even said, oh, make a joke how you look like a young Leonardo DiCaprio. Like, I got all the inside scoop to make him feel amazing. I asked great questions, by the way, because people love talking about themselves. And, you know, the more curious we are about others, the more interesting and fascinating we are. So I asked him great questions personally about his path to success, like flattered him in an authentic way. That was part of creating a great experience. And another part of creating a great experience is I did so much preparation on the types of questions that I was going to be asked. And I foresaw the types of objections I would face coming from SDR to AE. Oh, you don't have closing experience. So what I did is I talked to AEs who had mentored me and closed deals that I source, and I asked them everything about the deals and how they closed them, the roadblocks that they ran into, how the contracting process worked. And I said, I've got this. I can walk you through a whole deal that I didn't even close every step of the way. And I'm being proactive to set myself up to succeed. You're not going to make the wrong decision. And that is a key part of creating a great experience for an interviewer. They don't want to make an error of commission. This is a psychology thing where they made the wrong mistake and they're caught holding the bag. I hired Chris and he failed. And so through your preparation, by rocking your answers, which of course there's a lot to unpack on how to give great answers, preparation, telling stories, speaking succinctly and with confidence, things like that, that is creating a good experience. But it all boils down to that mindset.
Yeah.
And so hopefully that's helpful too. Like it starts with that mindset of making it all about them. And that informs all the actions and preparations that you take to get that, close that deal, because applying for a job is actually a sales cycle where we're the product and the hiring manager is the decision maker and the company we're trying to work at is your target company. So,
right.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a lot of good stuff.
Loaded.
I
could go on and on.
All good stuff. All good stuff. Just kind of moving forward. So, with your YouTube channel, you do a lot of live interviews, which I believe we are still live for your audience.
Yeah, we're live. What's up, guys?
Yeah,
and
what's up?
I had you on, and that was a great interview. People got a lot of value, and I made a short from the interview, and it's the most views I've gotten for a sales-related short of like 5.4K views. Clearly, you brought a lot of value, so I encourage the audience to check out the interview that I did with Jake. And a funny thing is, my screen was black. But you looked great, which is what mattered because you were the star of the show.
Well, I spent a lot of time doing my hair.
Yeah, you're gorgeous. But then more importantly, the value, you had the value to bring. And we had a decision to make. Are we going to go live or postpone? And the lesson learned, I would say, is it's okay to be imperfect. And it's better to take sloppy action and share the message rather than rob the world from the message. Don't hold back the message. Don't let fear of looking bad or imperfection stop us from putting value out there that could serve others. Right. And so I think that's something that we did that was great. And next time I have you on, we're going to have a great production set up, especially thanks to your help, because you're doing an amazing job with this podcast, by the way, and the quality of your production.
No, man, I appreciate that. I appreciate the shout out. And thanks for having me on the podcast.
It was fun.
It was so much fun. But just from all the people, you've interviewed some really big names out there. And I'm just kind of curious what you've learned from those, like all those people in the arena. I kind of like you kept saying, get in the arena. That takes me back to Theodore Roosevelt.
Exactly, that's what I'm alluding to.
Like man in the arena,
so inspiring.
Which is where all these people are that you're interviewing. I'm just kind of curious, like what you've learned.
Yeah. One thing I learned is that if you want to get someone who's like moderately famous or extremely busy, it could be just an executive in your sales role, you got to empathize with them and frame opportunities in their world. Again, go back to that theme. It's all about them. And so Matt Dixon's the author of The Challenger Sale, and I had him on the channel. And The Challenger Sale has shaped the methodology of Google Cloud and a lot of the top sales organizations and technology in today's world. And the opportunity for Matt is like, hey, one, I'm showing him like in my first email that my goal is to amplify your message, get your message in front of more eyes, and actually drive book sales. And so I found that how can always be giving and frame how we can contribute to their success. Now, Matt's probably stacked and a couple book sales, which is probably what happened. That's, it's not like it made a huge impact on his bank account, but it's that intention and thoughtfulness. And I threw in a little personalization as well at the beginning, like speaking to how I read his book. I called out a specific part of the book to show, talk about showing that I read it, not just, oh, I read your book. You could be making it up. I mentioned a specific part of the book that I loved and that I implemented to get better results. And so that personalization and framing opportunities in his world is a concept that I've used in sales, and it helps when you're trying to get someone who's like famous to, come on a podcast and a YouTube channel. So that was one lesson. Another is what we kind of talked about already, like focus on getting the message out there and don't worry about being too perfect. It's better to be authentic and vulnerable. And that's why I like to go live. It's like sometimes I do get sometimes nervous in the start. I don't know why. And then it rolls and momentum. It's like, feels like a big moment. Yeah. And there's ways to deal with that. But sometimes I've had to like literally, I'm sorry, well, guys, welcome to the channel. And I literally stumble on my words, but I think there's some power in that vulnerability and improvisation that is useful. Another thing is to be prepared for what could go wrong. With Matt Dixon, actually, we had a few outages where we had like a minute at a time that it went down, and it sucked. You know, it is what it is, but he bared with me. And then I had a Harvard professor, a Harvard Business Review author that we had to reschedule because there was some issue with the camera on my laptop, and we tried my phone and it just wasn't good quality. So preparing for what could go wrong, having a backup plan, and also taking ultimate ownership and accountability to not make excuses. That was my fault. But learning from it, and so now being I'm very prepared on the technical side of the house. So we did have the black screen.
Yeah.
We had a crazy situation where my other laptop that I usually use was being repaired, but also preparing like with a marketing plan and like a thoughtful approach to, you know, picking out the title and all the things that go into producing. And that preparation is a skill you do develop in sales, by the way, like having a reason for calling. I think going to sales, like cold calling is dead. Because cold calling is just calling with no freaking reason, just picking up a phone. That's just vanity. Like, what are you trying to prove? Have a reason to call based on the individual and their goals and the business and their goals and how you help similar customers, you know, doing the research. So those are some of the core lessons. I have a feeling on my notes. I had another one, but hey, those are some of the things that I've learned along the way. Oh yeah. Final one. Okay. I got it.
Yeah.
Back to sales. I'm the sales guy. I've seen a common thread that I haven't just had sales authors like Matt Dixon of the Challenger Sale or Mike Weinberg of New Sales Simplified, another great book to check out for becoming a proficient sales hunter. But I've had keynote speakers who talk about interdisciplinary thinking or developing your overall career. Thanks to our mentor, Tom, I've met some really cool speakers as well. So more broad topics. I also have John Gordon coming on. He's the author of The Energy Bus, and he spoke to the Rams and they won the Super Bowl as well as the Dodgers. So he's going to be amazing. Oh, wow. And I have another guy, Delatoro McNeil, that makes $1 million a year as a speaker, and he's on NBC and creates these amazing experiences. It's like personal growth. And I noticed that a common thread is all of these unbelievably inspiring speakers and successful people. They're not specifically focused on sales like me, but they acknowledge the importance of sales, that it's just a part of life. And it's something that they have to sell their speaking gigs and consulting. And so that's something that has just reinforced that I love sales and it's for a reason, and it really can help us be successful in whatever we do. Yeah.
I like what you said, be authentic. That also came up in my first episode I ever did with Zach Wright.
Yes. Love Zach.
Yeah, Zach is great, mutual friend.
Yeah.
And he was just like, man, just be authentic, you know? And that's so true. That's so true.
Yeah, and I have to riff, man. It's like in interviews, I had someone in executive talent development at Dell, so she interviewed a lot of people. She said the worst thing is if you're too performative. And I struggle with this because I am overly analytical and I might try and write out a perfect script. But if I'm a robot reciting a script, they want to know who's Chris behind them with these robotic words. Like being too performative is actually in a backfire. They want to see your authentic self and your quirks. And at Google, they talk about bringing your full self to work.
Yeah.
And so they look for Googliness, and I actually was a good culture fit. And I ended up singing Lean on Me. Lean on me. When you're not strong, you know, I sang that. I went for it. I'm like, in my head, I was like, am I going to do this? But authenticity in action. I did that in an interview in my final round in my Googliest interview. And that was an example of being truly authentic. And it helped me differentiate myself. The ultimate way to escape competition is by being unabashedly ourselves, because no one is like Jake Pusch or Chris Bussing or anyone out there in the audience. So 100% be yourself. And it helped me get the job.
Yeah, that's such good advice, because I mean, there's so much competition out there. There's so many other people out there, and the way you set yourself apart is just to be yourself and inject that into your whatever presentation, your discovery call, messaging. You got to be yourself.
100%, man.
Yeah.
And I'm glad to be around people like you, where we can let our guard down and be ourselves and peel back the layers of the onion. You know, like Shrek is I think he said, donkey, ogres are like onions. Yeah. I think humans are too. You know? And so it's like, let's peel back the layers and you might cry along the way. You know, it's the self-awareness onion, but expose our vulnerability and that can lead to innovation and quite success and connection, which is what I think matters in life. Yeah.
It was Brene Brown that kind of made, like, what is it, being vulnerable.
Yeah. And dude, I got Brene Brown to say yes to speak at Google. And it, by the way, it was applying the things that we talked about, so we don't need to go into it.
Mhm.
But I had, I basically filmed a video of all these people at Google, and there's some of them are crying on how she changed their life. And I sent it to her admin. And I also thought, going back to the theme of opportunities in their world, Brene wanted to focus more, I found out, on innovation and talking to, I framed an opportunity to talk to future leaders at Google who are going to be authors and start their own companies. And she would have an opportunity to go live to all of them across the globe and also be in person and drive book sales. So going back to that concept, I will say, because you mentioned her, I was very proud to play a part in making that happen. And that's the power of sales skills and framing opportunities and being empathetic when you're reaching out to people, because Google's HQ was trying to get her, the HQ in Sunnyvale, to speak at Google Cloud. I forget if it's like I/O, like the biggest summit of the year. Let's just say I forget the name.
Yeah.
And they actually couldn't get her. And this guy, Chris in Austin, got her to, say yes to come and speak. So,
Wow.
Yeah. I was honestly proud of that.
Yeah. I mean, that's a big name.
Yeah, for sure.
She's a big name for sure. Yeah. Wow, we could go so many directions.
We definitely could.
With what we just talked about.
It's been a fun dance.
We're still dancing a little bit.
Yeah.
We're still dancing a little bit.
Hey,
I did have a question. And it left my mind. So we're gonna go with.
Did it have to do with sales or what's next or?
Wait a minute. Okay, so we talked a lot about what advice you would give for somebody trying to like break into sales, like some of the best practices and things like that. What advice would you have for the successful account executive that also wants to do a side hustle like a YouTube channel?
Yeah, I would say get started now. Don't delay like I did for 3 months and require a glass of whiskey and a video of Gary Vee before and after to get you over the edge. Start creating. I'm going to put some intentionality and thought into it. What I love that you've done is you have a great production setup. It's better than what I had, honestly. So that's going to serve you very well. But start producing content, and then you can actually improve, once you get something out there, and you can collect feedback from other people. Because I realize the person who has the worst perception of myself and what I'm doing is me. Like I'm blind to it, and I'm not sure how I'm coming across. I'm trapped in my own perspective, and I have ideas of what I think success looks like. And I might be right, but if I'm wrong, we better get that out there and put it into the world, and the world responds. So that's one thing. Start now. Number 2 is proclaim your vision to others. Be a chatterbox, and you can tell I'm pretty chatty. So if you're an introvert, you might have to put yourself out there. But I've had times where I proclaim dreams, like I want to work for Google. I want to start a YouTube channel. I want to be a keynote speaker, which is the next big dream for me that I'm trying to actualize. When you share it with others, it comes alive in the listening of others, and some might doubt you, and that's okay. That's a part of the resistance that as you strive towards your dreams. But there are people that will be supportive and see you for what's possible, and you can literally borrow their belief. Like our mentor, Tom, who I know believes in us, like I believe in you, like I believe in this audience. You need to borrow belief. I got some extra for you. And so even when we don't believe in ourselves, like that's helpful. And when you proclaim your vision, people are willing to help. Like I've met mentors that have shaped my career, including through you, when I told you, oh my gosh, yeah, I want to be a speaker. And you said, I know Tom Singer, who's a professional speaker. Let me introduce you. And Tom has had an incredible impact on my life in so many ways. He's helped catalyze the growth of the channel. Mm-hmm. And I just went to the National Speakers Association, and I got goosebumps, and I met amazing people actually doing it. So proclaim the belief and the dreams, and people will respond. One other thing though is a practical thing, because we do have to think about what could go wrong. I am so caught up on passion and vision that I bite myself in the butt someday. That didn't even make sense that I bite myself. I mean, okay, take that out of the film.
Yeah,
okay, let's keep it.
Post-production.
No, we'll keep it.
Yeah.
But foreseeing what could go wrong, like it is a juggling act. When I realize I make my money in my 9 to 5, and I'm very committed to my current company, and I want to be at my company over the next 3 years as we look to IPO, and go public. That's incredible, and it serves my broader vision of speaker, consultant, full-time YouTuber, and all those things. And so keeping first things first and finding a way to really manage time. And maybe that means getting up a little earlier and chunking in the morning for your side hustle or working on the weekends. And for me, it's like I'm passionate about this, so I get to freely choose to. It's not a chore. And so managing that balancing act and not losing sight of what actually pays the bills and keeps the lights on. And that's something that I am always managing, because it's like, how do you keep the lights on and keep pouring into and developing your skills and keeping first things first, while also fighting for what's possible and actualizing that vision and putting enough into it to, like, I can't just stop this YouTube thing now.
Yeah.
It's a snowball going downhill. So yeah, I hope that's helpful.
No, it is. Yeah. You're all in, right?
I'm all in.
Yeah.
I'm still balancing though. Like, my top priority is my job, and so sometimes but there's a point, I think, another nuance is like when maybe your income is at a certain level, and I haven't done this, right? But I've heard some people where it's at least a fraction of what you make in your 9 to 5. Let's be real, tech sales, you make good money. You get the golden handcuffs. It's like, it's easy to not want to leave, and I'm still loving it. And I have a lot to learn, as I said, but at what point you have to be mindful. Do you have enough income coming from the passion project that you can take the leap? And I think another thing is building an emergency cash reserve as well.
That's important.
That's actually really important. And that's just in life. Like, that's something I'm working on lately, like a good stack of cash that is not for anything. Like, even now I'm like, I could buy a car. Like I was thinking of it, but I'm going to hold off on that because I want to get my emergency fund built a little more in case, in the future, if I ever did make a leap or things go wrong. So yeah.
It's so important. It's so important because I've noticed that some of the big names out there, the people that have really made it, like done their own thing, created their own business, like top athletes, they've all taken risks,
Dude, risks, man. That is like literally where life happens.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so scary.
Living comfortably is like the lowest level of existence. It is, man. And it's, I don't mean to be condescending or anything, but you know what I'm saying? It's like risk is where we access like unpredictable possibilities. We might get a few battle scars, but it all adds up to more meaning when we do end up succeeding.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. One big topic, we've already mentioned his name, Tom Singer.
Yeah, Tom.
And, what's up, Tom?
I love you, Tom. Seriously.
Hopefully he's tuned in. I can't really see on the screen there. But yeah, no, I'm just kind of curious. Why would you recommend having a mentor?
Yeah, I think I have like a handful of reasons. I'll try and remember them all. Number one is they will accelerate your success. They will show you the path. They're doing what you want to do. And you don't have to reinvent the wheel of success. Like, why not just model after them? It's actually the fastest path to success in any aspect of life. Your mentor will show you the roadmap. Just focus on executing. The other thing is a mentor is going to keep you accountable. Are you following through? Are you having integrity in doing what you said you would? When you proclaim your visions, your mentor, one is they're going to believe in you. And so another point is, I talked about borrowing belief. That's the power of a mentor. They might believe in you and see potential in you that you don't see yourself. And so even if you don't feel it yourself, just borrow their belief and let it take you to that greatness that you're destined for. And honestly, just fake it till you become it. So you can borrow that belief and they'll keep you. So I'm jumbling a couple of points, keep you accountable. Mm-hmm. That Chris, like, you're out partying and like, who do you want to be? That's what Tom always says. I'm like, oh gosh, like, that's a great question. Yeah. And he reminds me, like, I do a stupid thing. And he's like, Chris, come on. Like,
why are you on 6th Street, Chris?
Yeah. So it's like, they'll show you the roadmap to success to accelerate your path. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. They'll keep you accountable to stay on track. And when you get off course, they'll bring you back. You can borrow their belief, even when you don't believe in yourself, to realize your dreams and fake it till you become it. And, these are a few of the key reasons why a mentor is so important. And I had a feeling that was like a stalling statement. Honestly, I just realized it came to me. You also get to access their network. Tom is so well connected, and he brought me to the National Speakers Association and introduced me to all these like super successful speakers. And when Tom makes introductions, talk about the credibility, the trust is there and accelerated. Like, all I got to do is step into the conversation and make Tom look good. Yes. And Tom told me this, and I quote him all the time, and you might have heard this, all opportunities are tied to people. Yeah. And Tom's a professional speaker on the power of networking. So that network that you access through your mentor who wants you to succeed is so powerful and expands your own. And that is just, the network long-term bears so much fruit. It really does. Yeah. Networking is so powerful. Yeah. And I like what you said about having a mentor, like for accountability. Yeah. And I'd like to point out too, that the mentor learns from you as well. Sure. Like on your journey, like, when you're doing cool stuff, like
doing a podcast or
Yeah.
YouTube stuff, or, you know, talking about a deal that you did. It's vice versa, you know, like both parties win, you know.
We're always learning, like, and you know, I mentor some people like you do as well. And it's amazing how I have learned things that I never expected from my mentees. And it's shined a mirror on myself. And I've even seen like gaps on like how I'm approaching things and opportunities to grow and improve.
Yeah.
And there's someone that I consider, she's a friend, she's a mentee, and she might even be showing up right now, maybe not, but Des. And she's helping me build my channel and community for when I launch my course, Tech Sales Accelerator. And I started out mentoring her on tech sales and sales and things, but she's mentored me on a lot of things and opened up and expanded my horizons, and even like things that apply to business that I didn't expect, and just personally, and in regards to what I'm trying to build with this community and this course coming out soon. So
awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. A couple more questions and then we'll wrap things up here. But I like to tie everything back to Austin. That's one of the themes about this podcast. I still don't know what this podcast is yet. My buddy gives me crap for it all the time. He's like, dude, you need an introduction so people understand what the podcast is about.
Way, it's like, go ahead. But I just love that you started, dude. You actually, like the thing I was saying, you've done it.
Yeah, that's the biggest hurdle, just getting out there, right? But these conversations are really inspiring me to keep going, right? One of the things I did want to talk about is where was I going?
So, dude, this happened to me on my own podcast. It's happened multiple.
This happens way too often.
No, it happens to me too.
Yeah.
And this is where improv kicks in.
Mm-hmm.
So, but a couple more questions. Did it have to relate to?
Here we go.
Cool. See, this is improv, by the way. Let's go. Okay.
Yeah, here it is. What makes the Austin community so unique for not just tech sales?
Yeah.
But also entrepreneurs, businesses that are coming here like Oracle.
Yeah.
Like, why is Austin so unique?
This might sound heavy, but when I first moved to Austin, I was in South Lamar. And I was at this shop where I was looking for some furniture, and there was a woman in there, and her husband had just died. And she saw Austin, in talking with her further, as a place of rebirth and a fresh start. And that's what Austin is for people. And you might, have gone through a tragedy and you're looking to start fresh, or you want to reinvent yourself to become the best version of yourself. And so this is a place of rebirth, restarts if you want it, or just expanding on what you're doing. If you have a dream, there are people here that are supportive and creative and entrepreneurial, that are open and will support you in what you're doing. It's beautiful. And if you can't make friends in Austin, then God bless you. Good luck, because people are so warm and welcoming. And another thing is that I don't drink anymore, and that's a key part of my story, and maybe for another time. But when I was drinking, when I first came to Austin, I visited to vet out the city. I had a beer in my hand walking up to a bar, and in Boston, I mentioned I did get kicked out of a few bars, like I'm no saint. And again, that's a story we won't dig into. But it's kind of more rowdy. People are rough and gruff, and you would get in trouble for sure, right? It would be a tough interaction. And this bouncer's like, "Hey, go ahead. And this is in Austin. Finish your beer, man. Take your time." And I was like, "Sir, that's so refreshing." Like in Boston, I would have. Probably this would have escalated into something not good. And it was so refreshing. And that was just one example, and I think that's a reflection of the broader community. And it's a very young city. So, you get that passion and energy and that comes along with it. And it's a beautiful city in the sense that the architecture is modern and there's so much nature. We can go paddle boarding on the lake, or go out to Lake Travis. Or go out to the park with our dogs, which we have amazing dogs, don't we?
Yeah. Golden Retrievers are great.
Bella and June.
That's right. No, I think the Austin community is super powerful. Like even the gym that we go to, Squatch Fitness. Shout out to Squatch Fitness.
Squatch.
Because we get in those cold plunge rotations, or we're working out. But people are very open about what they're doing. They like to bring up their ideas or what they're doing for their business. And we just have conversations, and it's not people are hiding or hoarding information. They're sharing information to get feedback.
Yeah, there's a win-win mentality. Let's rise together. Let's make the pie bigger. And that's actually something Tom, our mentor, invited me to the National Speakers Association. They have that mentality because it's a bunch of professional speakers, and they might actually, they are like competing for business in some cases, but I think that make the pie bigger mentality that they have is here in Austin. Let's make the pie bigger. We can all have a slice.
Yes. Yeah.
Just not too much because we want to stay lean.
Yeah. We got to stay lean. We got to stay cut.
Getting out on the lake.
Oh man. Yeah. Get out on the lake for sure. Well, we talked about a lot of best practices, things that people should be doing. And I'm going to borrow this question from our favorite podcast, 30 Minutes to President's
Club. I love that podcast. Guys, check that out if you want to get into sales. Tech sales. Oh man.
Yeah. Again, 30 Minutes to President's
And you recommended that to me, by the way, so thank you.
Yeah. Just so many good tips. And they just get right into it. But what's one thing sales reps should stop doing?
There's a lot of things that sales reps should stop doing, and I'll throw out a few. We'll dance around it, and maybe we'll dig into one that really sticks. One is overanalyzing. Like you want to find a balance of doing some research on a personal nuggets of the individual, reaching out to the company, and have a thoughtful perspective. Because again, cold calling's dead, and you need to have a why, but don't overdo it. Right? Have a bias for action. Because ultimately you need to connect with and talk with customers and then focus more on being curious rather than analyzing or being a know-it-all. When we're a know-it-all, we actually cut off our potential. I remember I've actually 2 little anecdotes unexpectedly that popped up as we improv here. One is when I was at Oracle as an SDR, I did a training on our security capabilities and I came out feeling like I knew it all. Like, wow, I'm an expert, which I had like 1 security training and I cold called a CISO and I started because I felt like I was really smart. I talked his ear off and he hung up on me. It didn't matter what I knew. It was all about being curious about his situation and then picking out the right little nuggets, right? And so the other thing is don't overanalyze or over-prepare, but just take action. There was a company, an IoT company, when I was at Google Cloud, and I researched them and I set up a meeting with the CEO. So that's great. I got his time. And I prepared like a presentation and conversation around their Data V product. The solution that looks so great. I love the marketing. I mean, did I love it? I don't know. It looked good. And I'm like thinking about how I can bring value to the table and maybe suggest how we could differentiate in the market, expand their revenue through upsell opportunities, adding in analytics. You get the point. I researched and prepared on that. First thing he says in the conversation is, we've decided to move away from Data V and move from being a product company to a services company. Everything was out the window. So prepare somewhat, but just know it's better to be curious because that's when I got into that conversation, I prepared, it was all out the window. It didn't really serve me. And what mattered was actually asking questions about the new direction and being able to dance and improvise in the conversation. And the only other thing that we need to stop doing is I can have an ego for sure. And let's be real, there's a piece of that in having a YouTube channel. It feels good. Just like a preacher who says, sit down and,
it's like a dopamine.
And I think there's like a blend of ego, even when you're making a positive difference. But I noticed early on in my career, it was all about me and how great our company was. And I'd love to set up time. It's I. So take that I and that ego out of our emails, out of our framing. When we share a value proposition or our sales story, our messaging to pique the curiosity of an executive to take a meeting with us and understand why they should partner with us, it's got to be all about them, other-oriented. Speak to the challenges and opportunities in the world through the lens of a customer story and show them how you can hit their key performance indicators, help them make more money, hit their bonus, share more time with their daughters, because otherwise before in the status quo, they're actually managing IT fires over the weekend and they can't go to soccer games. So, and that's a very specific example, which the more personal with pain, the better. But the point is be other oriented, and that's kind of like that cybersecurity example where I thought I knew so much. I'm like, we're so great with this. It's not about us and how great we're. Focus on them, and always let that be your North Star in any interaction.
100%. And there's many more things sales reps
There's so many
things
doing. So many things,
but
man.
Those are big ones, though, for sure.
Yeah.
And so, out of the spirit of curiosity, for the audience that's watching, where can people find you?
Yeah, LinkedIn, connect with me. I love to just talk to good people, learn about your vision, what you're up to, and you never know where a conversation could go. When you have networking conversations, it's just pretty unpredictable. So I love doing that. Also check out my YouTube channel, which is my name, Chris Bussing. The first video you'll find is my tech sales rap video.
Oh, that was fun.
My name's Chris Bussing.
Yeah.
Tech sales is bussin'. Thank you, Jake, for being a part of it.
Yeah.
We have a funny little scene where I do a trust fall into your arms, and gosh, it was really great. And what I didn't expect is that my name Bussing would turn into a variation of the slang term that's bussin'.
Yeah.
Which the New York Times mentioned there's a vocabulary or a dictionary being made with like certain slang terms, and it means amazing and great. So who would have thought that my name Bussing? And so I'm playing off of that. But the thing is, my mom, her maiden name is Golden. So I could have been a Golden Boy. I don't know what's better, but she gets to be Golden Bussin'. But anyways, hopefully that trailer, my name's Chris Bussing, Tech Sales Bussin', makes the audience laugh at least once. Also check out my website, the final thing, chrisbussing.com. I have a newsletter coming out that's going to share nuggets on how to be successful in sales and life. It's called the Sell More, Live More newsletter, and it should be coming out this week. And people can also, in subscribing to my newsletter, get a coupon for when my course, Tech Sales Accelerator, comes out. It's a 12-module course that's designed to help you get a job in sales and as in an entry-level SDR role and get promoted within a year. So it's not just like get a job to open up this path, but set yourself up with a 90-day plan and even strategies on building your political capital and networking to get promoted and truly launch at a company that you love and that you're excited about. And so, yeah, those are the ways to find me. It's quite a few ways, but dude, thank you so much for having me on, man. This has been
great.
Yeah.
Bussing on Pushing Limits.
Yeah, guys. I mean, here's the thing. We talked about this, Jake. If you want to live a bussing life, you got to push your limits. PUSCH. So guys, make sure to subscribe to this channel, Pushing Limits on YouTube and follow the podcast. Jake is just getting started. He's doing big things.
Yeah. Thanks for being here. Episode number 4. That's a wrap.
Come on.
Let's go.
Cheers. All right. Thank you for showing up live.